people start rumbling in. So that's nice. Of course, the first episode you saw was the very first time I did it, so I was super nervous.
That's perfectly fine.
Mm. So have you been on talk shows like or talk shows? Have you been on this type of chats before?
On occasion, yes. There were quite a few different YouTubers and such that wanted to interview me for discussions on their own channels. There was one time years ago where a local radio station brought me and one of the local heads of a Brony group in for an interview. That was kind of different.
Oh, interesting. How did that go? Wait, if
Well,
it's okay, I ask.
trying to explain what a brony is and why My Little Pony fascinates us so. It's different than actually talking with other bronies who are interviewing me, because trying to explain to the general public about why a show about pastel colored ponies would be so interesting.
Hmm.
And I just would compare it to something like, say, some of the Pixar films that, even though at first glance they look like it's got to be meant for kids, I mean, they certainly appeal to kids, but many of the Pixar films carry far more depth and themes that kids just wouldn't get, that you can tell the creators behind these works, yeah, they're trying to spread a message that the adults would thoroughly appreciate, even if the kids don't fully understand it yet.
Hmm.
And I saw a lot more depth in My Little Pony as well. It kind of confused me when I first heard that suddenly My Little Pony was a really big deal, and I'm like, really? Really?
Like what?
What's making this suddenly so popular?
Hmm.
I mean, they're rebooting shows from the 80s all the time. Why does this one stand out so much?
Yeah, why was this one successful? It's
And over time, I just appreciated how much the Brony community was creating some rather entertaining works based off of My Little Pony. And after a while, I'm like, okay, maybe I should give this show a watch. Maybe I'd better figure out for myself, is this actually worth all of the attention it's getting?
so I guess that's also how you got into My Little Pony in the first place.
Right. I grew up in the 80s. I was a child of the 80s and a teenager of the 90s.
Ah.
And I was aware of the My Little Pony show back then, Generation 1. But as a little boy, you don't want to watch shows about colorful ponies frolicking in a meadow. I wanted to watch shows about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all the action that came with that. That's what appealed to me. But when I was an adult, and back in 2011, when My Little Pony Friendship is Magic was suddenly becoming a big deal, I kept scratching my head, and over time, I'm like, okay, there really must be something else to this show than what's available at first glance.
Mm. So that's what piqued your interest and take a better look, deeper look.
Yeah. It was the fan created projects. I think the very first My Little Pony anything that I saw on YouTube back in 2011 was the ponified version of the StarCraft 2 trailer. Now, back then, I was really into StarCraft 2. That was a really great game that took a lot of my free time, and I just loved playing it. And really seeing all of the characters I knew being paired with visuals from My Little Pony, and so much of it surprisingly worked way better than I could have expected. I'm like, okay, that's really creative. That's kind of clever. I kind of liked that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I myself, of course, I saw the 80s cartoon as a little kid at 4 year old before I knew English. When aunt of me came back from overseas to Norway with a tape, well, VHS as we had back then, with a series, and I fell in love with it then, even though it was, well, yeah, I was 4 in the 90s, so was a little late, but that's where I fell in love with it. I then was very disappointed at Generation 2 and 3, but we're happy that Generation 4 was what it was, because I was super skeptical.
So much like Lightning Bliss, you grew up with the show.
Very happy.
Yeah.
Another thing I really like from back those days is the Care Bears. Sadly, they have not gotten any good newer generations yet, so still love the old ones. They are adorable. Oh, I see we have a question in chat. Let's see. Question for Dr. Wolf. What is your favorite firebrand moment? Also, what do you think of I don't know which My Little Pony OC he is referring to, so I guess we will go with what's your favorite firebrand moment?
Oh, let me think. I have done many projects with Josh Scorcher, aka Firebrand, over the years. And yeah, there are tons of really, really fantastic moments that we wrote up together and recorded together and got to see the result of. More recently, in the big red versus blue story arc that we did for TF2 analysis, there is a moment where Dr. Wolf and Firebrand, both as medics, are Ubering each other and just holding the line, waiting for the rest of the teams to arrive. And I don't know, we don't get too many moments like that where it's just our two characters in the midst of a battle and Firebrand's just having so much fun with it.
Well, weren't you having fun as well? That's awesome.
But Doc is always the serious one. It's
Ah.
hard for him to just let loose and be funny, especially when there's so much danger all around.
Yeah, especially for his character, if I remember correctly.
Right.
That's a thing I was curious about too, because, well, of course, I have tried to think of answers for myself, but rather ask you straight out. What was the main thing that made him keep it all a secret? That made him still go on still continue doing all the stuff with his friends, even though the danger was ahead.
Now that is a secret.
Ah, okay.
And it is meant to be building towards more of a story later on. The fact that Dr. Wolf has stuck around despite the fact that he does not have the same safety net as the rest of the teams.
Okay. Well,
that
then.
Is part of a longer form story.
Okay, then I shall not poke the bird. The bird shall be left alone. Well, maybe I could have said that if we had Silver Quill, but apparently Noah021 have sent you his My Little Pony OC on Messenger.
Which messenger?
I guess he will type that in chat when he hears you. Either way, usually, as you see in the background, I always try to build a story for every single chill and chat stream. So, well, this one I was thinking Fluttershy is your favorite pony, so I was thinking maybe we were planning a tea party with her. That's why Angel Bunny is helping us keeping to the time schedule.
I can imagine, yeah. And Fluttershy is certainly the character that I relate to the most. But she isn't always my favorite.
What?
When going through the series, there are always interchangeable ponies that become my favorite, depending on the episode, depending on the season, just depending on how fantastically funny a moment can be, that I can say, you know, for this episode, this character is definitely my favorite. But Fluttershy will always be the character that I relate to the most, that I can understand the most.
Oh.
And yes, Fluttershy was the reason I got into YouTube in the first place.
She was?
So I have a lot to thank for that character.
That's very nice to hear. Could I ask for that story as well? Because that would be interesting. Like, to actually push you to start doing YouTube stuff. Because that's a pretty big thing, to be honest.
Well, if you go to my YouTube channel and look up the oldest video I have there.
Yeah. For you viewers, his YouTube, if you don't already are a subscriber, is underneath when you click on the photo of his OC. Then it will take you directly to his YouTube channel. Let me see.
The oldest video on my channel is called Fluttershy's Weakness is Part of Her Greatest Strength. And the reason why I wanted to make a video about Fluttershy's weakness was because back in late 2012, early 2013, I had started watching the show and wanting to see what else the Brony community was coming up with for content. And I came across the early reviewers, the early analysis channels. There weren't that many back then. But I liked listening to how some channels would break down characters or stories and show, hey, there's actually some really creative depth here. There's meanings within meanings. And I'm like, wow. Yeah, I can see that now. That's fascinating. There is even more to this show that I didn't even realize. And yeah, I enjoyed listening to a lot of those videos back then. However, between all of the early reviewers and analysis channels, not a one of them had a positive opinion of Fluttershy as a character.
Aww.
And that puzzled me. I really liked Fluttershy as a character. I liked many of her stories. And I certainly related to her struggles. But those reviewers and analysis channels back then just didn't like her character. They didn't look forward to her stories. And I just kept thinking and thinking, if they would look at this story this way, or look at her character flaw in this way, have this kind of different perspective, I know there's more to this character than what they're saying. I know there is. And then it was in May of 2013 that Digibrony, he's known as Digibro now, but back then he was known as Digibrony. He was part of Equestria Daily, which
Oh.
is a news site for anything My Little Pony related.
Yes, I've seen the
And
site.
yeah, there was a post on Equestria Daily from Digibrony that he wanted more analysis content. He wanted to uh, put a spotlight to more analysis videos on Equestria Daily. And since I had been thinking for weeks, maybe months at that time, what I could say about Fluttershy that no one else was saying at the time, I decided, you know what? I have got to get this out there. It quickly dawned on me like, I have no idea how to make a video, though. How am I supposed to make a video?
Yeah.
I've never done anything like that in my whole life. So I began just typing in some questions into Google and YouTube. How do I do this? What program can I use? What can I have access to? And I realized that the laptop, MacBook laptop that I had came with iMovie. And iMovie, despite the fact that it is not as complex, not able to do as much as many other video editing programs out there, it is very user friendly. It is much easier to understand and put things together. And that appealed to me because I still, to this day, have a hard time understanding new software. So much just goes way over my head. So having something that was much more user friendly, I went all in on that.
Yeah.
Over the course of, what was it? I think it was like 3.5 days. I wrote a script. I figured out the absolute basics of how to use iMovie. I searched the internet and found a website where I could quickly download images from the show that I could use for talking points. And I began recording. I hadn't recorded anything. I can't even remember the last time I'd recorded anything for anyone before that point. And I was like, it's okay if I don't have a microphone. I'm using the onboard MacBook microphone. I'm sure it's not going to sound that great. But it's important to me that I get these thoughts out there. My intention was that if I was to put up a video and perhaps get a few dozen people to see it, that I could spark a conversation that would slowly grow within the community that, hey, there's more to Fluttershy than meets the eye. She is an interesting character.
Indeed.
That was my hope. So I released the video, my first ever video on YouTube, and I sent a link to the video to Digibrony, hoping that perhaps he would show it to other people. I wasn't expecting him to post a link on the Equestria Daily website. I mean, this was my first video. I'm sure my production values were amateurish at best. I didn't expect much.
Well, it was your very first, and you didn't have any experience with making videos. And I myself have tragically tried to make very easy videos, not as complicated as yours. So I have a little bit understanding of how confusing, stressful, and confusing it can be.
Right. Well, later that day, I look on Equestria Daily, and there it is. There is a post on Equestria Daily that's just my video. Here I thought Digibrony was going to be putting up a post of a collection of many different analysis videos he had found, hoping to draw attention to them. But no, he thought that this video was worthy of its own article on Equestria Daily.
Yay!
And that just dumbfounded me. I'm like, wait, what? But I know that there's better video producers out there with actual microphones. Why is this worth that kind of attention?
Confused
And
doctor's
yeah,
noises.
throughout that day, throughout the night, into the next morning, the video accumulated over 3,000 views. And I had pulled in more than 200 subscribers.
Wow.
I thought that over the course of a month I might get a few dozen views and maybe a few subscribers if I was lucky. In less than a day I had over 3,000 views. That just boggled my mind. I didn't realize that there was this much interest in Fluttershy being shown, that she has more depth to her character. I guess that there was a ton of people out there who wanted someone to about Fluttershy in a positive light, talk about her weakness is part of her greatest strength, because it really resonated with people. And on that video, I got comment after comment after comment. This is great. What else are you going to do? Who else are you going to talk about? And I'm like, I didn't expect to do any other characters here. I thought about this for months. I was going to make one video. But it didn't take long before enough comments made me realize, you know what? I could say some things about Applejack and why I like her as a character.
There you go.
And then from that point on, I started making 3 to 4, even 5 videos every single week.
Wow. That's dedication.
It's been going on for nearly 8 years now. In another couple of months, it will be 8 years since that first video.
That's quite an anniversary, almost as much as the ponies themselves.
And not quite that long ago, but I suppose fairly close.
Yeah, like, of course, they have they have 9 seasons, but 10 years anniversary, and you have 7, soon 8 years with videos. So it's close. Yeah. I think that's something that's great.
Yeah.
Noah also said that where he sent it to was Facebook messages. If you don't feel comfortable talking about his OC right now, you can do it after the stream with him in private, because OC stuff can be private stuff.
Right.
Other than that, we have another question from him where he asks you, oh, it's for both of us. What is your favorite sunset shimmer moment in the Equestria Girls movies? So any movie at all of the Equestria Girls.
Sunset shimmer, huh?
That's a hard one.
I wasn't too partial to her character in the first movie. She seemed pretty one note as a villain. She really didn't come into her own until the follow-up.
That is true.
In the sequel, that's where most everyone latched onto her character, including me. And where I found her to be, hey, they are actually adding a lot of depth to her. I like that. Let's see more of this. But I don't know if I could pinpoint a particular moment where that suddenly clicked for me. Like, suddenly I like this character, whereas before I was like, meh, kind of feeling towards her.
If I'm gonna try to pinpoint a moment, I would say, was it the name? I think there was one of the shorter movies, not a movie, like Forgotten Friendships, I think. The one where you have the memory stone that looks like it's taken out of Legend of Zelda. If you have seen that one.
I do remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, I think
where she actually developed a rapport with Trixie.
Yeah, that was adorable. I think that's the movie that kind of like, yes, I do like this character. And I really liked the costumes that the girls got and that they stayed with that costume choice for further videos. I think that was really nice. And seeing how, like, I heard different dubs of voice actors doing the very horrible scene where absolutely all her memories of all her friends are going out of her head. That really scared me, to be honest. That was a really powerful scene for me. And how she was able to do the magical friendship thing and talk the enemy down, help Wallflower to see that you don't have to be evil and mean to have a happy life. That was really something that made me happy and scared, happy, all the emotions. Could you try? Is that a possible thing you can pinpoint for you?
I
Similar to
don't
that?
know. It's been so long since I've watched the majority of the Sunset Shimmer stories. I'm gonna have to ponder that one.
Yeah. You have been posting a lot of videos about the new generations coming out.
Indeed.
Indeed. I really like the last one about the magic missing.
The what missing?
Where the magic seems to, at least the
That.
magic of friendship is missing.
Like, Equestria has lost its magic, the one that I just released today.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be able to avoid what you talked about so people can go and check out the video themselves. The thing I want to ask you about, how do you think they have do you think that they have normal electricity? Do you think that they still have those what's it called, air boats and stuff?
Airships, maybe. And I'd be willing to bet that they have access to electricity. If you look very closely within one of the images for G5, this is of Sunny's room, there is a lamp with a little switch that you can tell it's meant for a hoof. So, if magic has been lost in Equestria, I don't know if that means unicorn spells or not, but I have to imagine that the Earth Ponies would be industrious enough to understand, you know what? We can use this to power our everyday devices.
Yes. So then the question is also, do you think they have phones yet? Because that's a thing that has been occurring in 4th generation, that they always have a way to communicate with people, but we don't see a single cell phone or old phone.
I would prefer that they not put cell phones into Generation 5. I've seen plenty of cell phone focus on the Pony Life series.
Oof, yeah.
And yeah, it gives me the wrong vibe whenever I see that they're focusing on being big on social media, being trendy, or figuring out what's the best app for their phone. And I'm like, that's not why I watch this world or these characters. Where's the fantasy element?
Like if
Pony Life just turned up much more of modern technology and had some magic, but not a lot.
Yeah, if you wanted to watch normal stuff like cell phones and TVs, then you can watch a normal TV show. That's the one thing. So that's another thing I'm really curious about. What do you think we will see creatures like Discord or similar?
I suppose that would come down to exactly whether the MLP staff feel like there's enough for his character to do. Because putting him in the series just for nostalgia's sake, just to torment the current next generation of ponies. That's not a great use of his character. I want there to be a reason for him to be part of the long form story rather than, oh, I just want to see Discord because Discord is fun. And yeah, Discord can be a lot of fun. But I hope there's more than that if you want to include his character. I really do.
Like, like I said, like creatures like Discord. So not necessarily that just put him in to put him in, but
Okay.
so sorry if I came across
all
like
right.
that.
That's okay. That's okay. I do like the fantastical elements that were presented in Generation 4. Creatures like the manticore, or the cockatrice, or the chimera. Those are quite fascinating. They can add danger to a story. And if we had even more creatures like that, I'm sure there's all kinds of fantastical creatures you could still put in Equestria and they'd still feel like, yeah, they could belong in this world.
Fluff Dragon says that I gotta agree here. I much prefer a fantasy setting with suspension of disbelief rather than sticking more current technology just for the sake of pardon my French, I was about to say. Readability.
Relatability?
That's the one. Thank you. Dyslexica, so I do have trouble with my own language as well.
That's entirely fine. I feel like I have plenty of listexia myself.
Well, high five! Ska vi se. Noah asks, Dr. Wolf, have you heard of a My Little Pony fanfic called Cross and Arrow? A Kingdom Hearts and My Little Pony crossover fanfiction.
I'm fairly certain that I've read that title in the comments of videos, so I'm fairly certain that, yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never actually read it.
Mm-hmm.
I've unfortunately had to avoid long stretches of reading these past few years. I tend to get headaches, and they can get pretty bad if I'm trying to just force my way into reading page after page of something. That's not a good feeling.
Yeah, that's fair. So not very much on Finfic, I guess.
I used to love browsing Fimfic.
So it's
Fimfiction.
it's just
I
a
used to
current
love
problem.
doing that. Oh,
If
I
it's
used to do a lot of dramatic readings, and I mean a lot. I probably did maybe over 100 stories on my channel in dramatic readings.
Wow.
And yeah, people like listening to me tell stories.
Well,
And
you
I
have a good
enjoyed
voice.
reading stories.
Sorry. You have a good voice for it, so that's understandable.
Yeah. I do miss it on occasion because I would often find fun little gems on Fimfiction that I'd like to turn into stories on my channel and just have fun voicing all the different characters.
Basically making audiobooks?
Yeah, kind of. I have a playlist on my channel of dramatic readings where it's just my voice and a single image on screen, and other playlists where I have those same dramatic readings with lots of custom artwork that I am immensely grateful that so many artists wanted to take part in creating something fun.
Sounds wonderful. So, except for, of course, YouTube stuff, I heard you are DMing the D&D Brony? Brony?
I'm not the DM of Brony D&D. Josh Scorcher is the DM or dungeon master of that series, but I
Ah.
am one of the players, and I have been posting our sessions on my YouTube channel for 4 years now. The series just recently had its finale, and Josh came up with a really, really fantastic finale that was quite somber.
Hmm. Well, I guess it is very good memories to have further down the line.
Mm. Occasionally, I can go back to those and listen to how things used to be. I
Hmm.
do like that YouTube will forever have this work that I've done that so many others took part in along the way. I'll always appreciate that I can go back at any time and say, oh, yeah, I remember doing that back in like 2014. Oh my goodness, I remember how much fun I had with all the different people I was working with.
It's like our own little time capsule.
Kinda, yeah.
Hmm. It is odd how quickly technology has gone the last 50, use the right words, decades? Yeah.
The last few decades in particular, yeah. And it's going to keep expanding exponentially, I'm sure.
Hmm.
And I am quite fascinated with what else could be just around the corner.
Do you think we're gonna
I
get
do have,
hoverboards?
oh, that would be interesting to see. And back in 2015, lots and lots of people were wondering, hey, can we ever have those? I'd love to have those.
Would have been nice. But no,
Uh-huh.
we have a blanket with the arms on it. That's what we got. But
Well, I am impressed with all of the advancements that have gone into space travel these past several years. This
yeah.
decade in particular is going to be truly immense if we can really accomplish everything that all these different companies want to accomplish.
Hmm. It is interesting. Do you think in before 2200, do you think we will have people on the Mars?
Before 2200, you mean?
Yeah.
2200? I'm sure we'll have people on Mars within this century, personally.
Oh?
It may not be within this decade, but within this century, before 2100, I think that people will be on Mars.
Hmm.
I don't know about a permanent settlement there, but people will have landed there for sure.
Yeah. Hmm. That's an interesting question. If you were, well, if it would have been like the next 5 years and your wife wanted to go, would you be the first brownie on Mars?
Oh, there's an interesting concept. The first Brony on Mars. Oh, what a title. I do want to visit space within my lifetime. And with all the advancements in commercial spaceflight that are coming really soon, I think it's possible that I could, at the very least, get to see the Earth from high orbit in my lifetime. That's just one of the items on my bucket list that I'm hoping I will be able to do. It will be extraordinarily expensive at first, that only the richest of the rich will be able to afford. But eventually, just like every other new invention,
E.
it will become more economically viable that more and more people will get the opportunity to try it for themselves.
Hmm. That is true. That's a fun thing. But yeah, bucket lists are quite fun. Do you have any others that you would care to share? Or if you feel comfortable?
I want to see the Northern Lights.
Welcome to Norway. I have room.
Yeah, I'm sure. If I go to the northernmost tip of Norway, where it is above the Arctic Circle, then yeah, I'm sure I could see the Northern Lights.
You can see Northern Light further south in Norway as well.
Yeah?
But of course,
Like,
up in the furthest Trondheim, there you can see it quite clearly.
yeah.
Clearly. Right.
I I don't imagine you could see it as far south as Oslo, though, could you?
Not Oslo, no, sadly.
No, okay.
But Oslo is not the town you want to visit if you're visiting Norway to see beautiful things, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
Well, unless you really like big cities. Then it's something else. What do I have on my bucket list? Except, of course, getting to a con or two in America. Do I have a bucket list? I don't know if I have a bucket list.
If you think about it long enough, I'm sure everybody has a bucket list. Just certain things that they'd love to do within their lifetime that just seem so far out of reach, but someday they really, really want it.
I want to be hobbit-sized.
Ho ho!
There you go.
Well, there's an interesting item on a bucket list. I think the closest you can get to that is by traveling to New Zealand and visiting Hobbiton. And even though you won't actually be hobbit size, you will get to visit all those same hobbit locations and feel like you're hobbit size.
Yes.
That's probably your best.
Yeah, the fun fact, I already been there.
Oh, really? You've been to
Yes.
the other side of the planet. My goodness.
Yes. Backpacking trip with my cousin. We went to all of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit places on the northern island of New Zealand. And it was amazing. I just wish I could go back there because it's like my brain still can't fabricate it, like understand it, that I was there. I touched his mailbox. It was so amazing. Oh.
I have not traveled anywhere near as far as you have. My goodness. Most of my life has been within the United States. The furthest I have traveled outside of the United States was down in Belize, which is Central America.
Sounds like you need to come and visit in Norway. Yes.
Hey, I would like to visit Europe and go to many different countries one of these decades, but that is a long ways off. If I'm going to go, then I need a lot of time to see as much as I can. Taking that much time off of work is not so easy.
That is true. What are you working on with? What is your day job, if you feel comfortable talking about that? Let me know if I get too personal. I'm not sure where your line is, so.
I'm actually an accountant.
And next question. What is an accountant?
Okay. Accountants specialize in managing finances for a company. For many companies, especially the bigger companies, it is absolutely vital that you account for every dollar coming in and every dollar going out. That there is a thorough understanding. This is how much the expenses were for this month. This is how much our revenue was for this month. And we need to make sure that all the money is in the right places. Because companies that choose to function without such oversight, oh goodness, how many of them fail spectacularly because they don't think it's all that important.
Yeah, trouble. My father has, I think he has 1 or 2 accountants himself for his big company here in Norway. A lot of numbers. So yeah, great respect to your trade. Great respect. It's I've seen tried to see some of the numbers and my brain just goes nope, too much numbers.
It's certainly not for most people
Yeah.
because you have to have a passion for the work
Mm-hmm.
in order for you to be any good at it. It's not always fun, but I am dedicated to making sure that I know exactly where everything is. Even within our own household, my wife and I, we keep a register of every single bill we ever take on. Every receipt we bring home and we write it in the register and we calculate, okay, this is exactly where we stand at any given day.
Hmm.
And part of that is what helped us to completely pay off our house in, what was it, less than 6 years. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
We've been living debt free for almost 5 years now. Yeah. Next month, it'll be 5 years.
Well, applaud. Don't know how it sounds, but there you go. that
I
that is really
recommend
nice.
it I recommend it for anyone who could pull it off. It is such a burden off your shoulders to realize we don't owe money to anyone.
You're
We
free.
can spend our money however we wish every month.
That is a really great feeling. That really is. So the system you use is basically just take every receipt, write everything down, and keep track of it.
What
Is
makes that so helpful in getting out of debt is that you are constantly reminding yourself, you are gaining a much better sense. This is where we stand. These are the bills that are coming up. This is what we spent in the previous month. We can probably spend a little bit less here this month. By constantly writing it down, you are reminding yourself exactly where you are. Because when you're just looking at a bank statement and you're just scanning through the numbers, your brain doesn't register it anywhere near as much than as if you're taking every single receipt and writing it down every line item. The fact that you are writing it helps you to better notice, okay, we really are spending a lot here. Do we really need to spend this much here? It's just one step that helps you to gain financial independence.
Yeah, I think I will try that myself. Me and my dearest are currently trying to save up for an apartment, so I will try that. Thank you.
There's plenty of other things that I recommend about financial independence. There's actually a playlist on my channel where I'm talking about nothing but getting out of debt, saving for
Awesome.
the future, learning how to budget. I love talking about that stuff because, again, I have a great passion for finances. That's why I'm an accountant.
Awesome. I kind of want to ask also, how did you find out that this was your passion, that this was what you wanted to do?
I was back in college. I didn't know what career I really wanted to do until I think my second year in college, where I was trying to get just a general business degree and hoping that I'd figure out what I wanted to do in the meantime. And part of getting a business degree meant you got to take a class on accounting. And I didn't get into accounting at first. It took me a few weeks before I was like, do I really want to do this kind of thing? This really isn't appealing to me. Until suddenly something clicked where I realized, you know what? I actually do care about getting everything to balance, about keeping track of line items. I'm looking at all these numbers and I'm not melting my brain in the process. Actually, I care about this. So I kept taking more accounting classes, as well as economics classes, as well as investment classes.
And there you
Realized
go.
I do care about this. I can be good at this. It's not always fun. I got to emphasize that. It's not always fun. And it's certainly not for most people.
That's fair.
But it's something that will guarantee I will have a career when I get out of college. Because lots and lots of businesses absolutely have to have accountants on their staff.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of. Very stressful. Family businesses. Yeah. Like I'm not say like you say, it's not that type of job is not for everyone, and if you try to do it when it's not for you, it can be very stressful. So hire an accountant. That will save you a lot of stress, to put it lightly.
Yeah. But I do think it's important that you learn to do what is needed
Of course.
before you do what you find fun. Because I couldn't do YouTube if I didn't have this accounting job.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. It is because I am doing work that not always the greatest for my sanity that allows me in my free time to spend making videos, doing that for fun.
So it's like my mother always tell me, bills before life.
I wouldn't put it quite like that, but yeah, I can certainly see where she's coming from.
Yeah. So you always pay, like, first it's bills, then it's food, then it's clothing, then it's fun stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Well, bills includes, like, paying for the car and gas for the car, if you have a car.
It really helps to figure out every single thing you buy. Is this a want or is this actually a need? Because there are plenty of people who say, oh, I need this. I can't live without this.
Yeah.
And yet you look around and there's plenty of other people who somehow are able to live without it. Is that really a need? Or is it something you've convinced yourself is a need? Really think about it.
Yeah, and then you also have, is it a luxury problem or is it a real problem? If luxury problem would be like, oh, I don't have the newest car, or there I work too many hours when I don't really want to because I don't really need to. And then it's like, you know, you need those extra hours because you need to pay off other stuff, or because, you know, it's nice to have money in case an emergency comes by. So, you know, maybe you should work those hours you're set up to work. That type of thing as well. Oh, ska vi se. Noah asks again, to you, what is your favorite lightning bliss moment and thunder blight moment?
That Thunderblight moment would certainly have to be the A Moment with Dr. Wolf video we did where Lightning Bliss visits Doc's office and Doc asks her to bring out Thunderblight. And that whole conversation and how it all came together in the end. That was the favorite Thunderblight moment. But my favorite Lightning Bliss moment, I think, has to go to our magic lesson on her channel, where after Doc has managed to calm baby Blissey down
Aww.
and is just holding her, and she is calm, and there's this very, very brief moment where there's no other characters, it's just the two of them on screen. So that's probably my favorite Blissey moment.
Yeah, that's understandable. Now, of course, my girly instincts go straight to, so, are we expecting any pups? Sorry. Never mind that, you don't have to answer. Sorry.
If you watch that same magic lesson video, I think you might understand the answer to that question.
Yeah, then I will do that. Oh, Drinking Buddy. He asks for the both of us. Who is your least favorite character from the show, and what would you like to see happen to that character that would make that character more enjoyable?
Oh, a character that I think they really could have written better that I
Mm.
just didn't like when I first saw. I don't know. Ooh, I don't normally think about what I don't like in a character most.
Mm.
Hmm.
And then how to make them better.
Yeah. I've thought about how to make stories better, certain episodes better. There's always little things you can tweak, but I don't know about characters.
Hmm.
I really don't know. Hmm.
Mm, it's not a character I have as my least favorite because they did fix her, kinda. And for me, that one of them was Trixie. Because
Yeah.
for me, I saw her acting very much as a spoiled child that didn't care how her actions affected even her best friend, Starlight. How she were, well, how I saw her, very egocentric and keep munching on candy when she, like, it was very clearly that this was stressing Starlight. And she kept being non careable until it all blew up in her face. And then she, like, of course, I can understand that some characters or people, because all these characters have three-dimensional personalities, which, like you talk about, the depths of the characters, and how she finally started to like take it seriously that the Starlight was stressing and started to actually try to help. That what made me not dislike her at that extreme level that I did. Because for me, she was like, why are you even in this series? You're mean, you're self centered, and you're just mean. Why? But then luckily the episode came and she's now at least better. And I really like that. That's something I think needed to be shown in the story and the series, that even if somebody can be so self centered, there's still hope for them. With the right help, of course. Hmm. But if there is the least favorite character now, well, I usually don't like evil characters, so I'm just gonna take away the villains because the only way to make them better is to, like, have a way to make them good. But that's kind of cheating in this question. Hmm. Hmm. Is there any
Do we have
other?
any other questions?
Yeah, if you can tick off any characters. Ska vi se. Question for Dr. Wolf. If you were to rewritten Secret of Excess, which part would you rewrite?
I think I actually made a video about that.
Oh.
And it's not that I would rewrite the episode. I think a lot of what was built up there has potential. It's just that the writers didn't do a follow up story to that potential. And I thought that there was a lot of interesting ideas if you could just follow up with Spike, even though he didn't have control over himself, has really wrecked Ponyville, terrified a lot of citizens. And even though he's normal size again, what would he have to do in order to get others to trust him, want him around anymore? The main six would be able to forgive him. And that's kind of part of the point, that the main six would be the exception. But when you have a dragon around that all of a sudden you saw Godzilla size, and terrorizing the populace, stealing everything. How do you overcome that? Can you overcome that? What would Spike say? What would Spike do? What would the other citizens say or do? That's what I wanted to see as part of Secret of My Excess. Not just immediately brush off the side effects of Spike's rampage through the town.
Yeah, that's the episode you did with Silver Quill, wasn't it?
Well, we talked about Spike specifically. And yes, in the video, we did create a sort of mini story where Spike regresses into his Godzilla like form. And all the while, we're talking about our views on Spike as a character in all the episodes that we had seen up to that point, and coming up with our own stories of what we wanted to see from Spike. And yes, that is one of my personal favorites from way back in the day, because I think the story I came up with would have been fantastic for his character, especially in the first half of the show. But
Go on.
But now that the show is over, we're never going to see that story.
Yeah, that is true. So yeah. I usually also have a question that I ask people. If you could have made a double episode for the series before it ended, what kind of episode would you make? Like, it could be about anyone in the series, but a double episode before it's ended.
A double episode.
It doesn't have to be like a start or a final. It can be like just a normal episode, but it's the length of 2 episodes.
Way back in the day, I put together some videos about my hopes for season 4 and hopes for season 5, and just basic story ideas on what could have happened if things were different, what I hoped to see from the show as it was still progressing.
Mm-hmm.
There was one idea that this was back when season 4 had come to an end and we were waiting for season 5 to start. And I had thought, now that Discord is mostly reformed, I wonder if we're ever going to see some of his past decisions come back to haunt him.
Oh.
Some past mistakes to rear their ugly head again, so to speak. And I came up with the idea of, what if Discord, just playing a prank as he saw it, had trapped Star Swirl the Bearded outside of time.
Oops.
Where he was stuck in this pocket dimension, unable to interact with the world around him, able to witness all this time passing but not aging any further himself. And suddenly being freed of that prison in the modern day. Now, Discord had done something truly terrible to Star Swirl in that circumstance.
Yes.
That just because he thought it would be funny, he had put Star Swirl under this torture for countless eons. Star Swirl would have every reason to say to every pony, he can't ever be trusted. He is a menace. He is merciless. He is evil. Could any of the main 6, after hearing what Discord has done, really come to his defense?
I guess
what would even Fluttershy, what would Fluttershy say to Star Swirl in that circumstance? Star Swirl is listing off everything that he's had to witness and unable to change, unable to interact, just endless torment. What would Fluttershy say to him? What would Discord say to him? What would Fluttershy say to Discord? You could easily turn that kind of story into a two-parter because there's a lot of potential. And I don't know what the answer would be. I don't know who you could say would be in the right. And that's kind of why I want to see it. It's a story that would really make you think. We know that Discord at that time was mostly reformed. That he had made mistakes, but he had repented. He had truly humbled himself. And at that point, after T-Rex had been defeated and Discord restored to his old self, he genuinely wanted to be a better person. But if his past mistakes ever came back to haunt him, could anyone really say he'd never do such a thing again?
Thinking about it myself, it would depend very much on where in the 9 seasons you put this episode. If it is like right before the very, very, very last episode, then I think it will be very much depending on how he is now. And it would also depend if you threaten Fluttershy or not.
Yeah. I had hopes that we could see that kind of story in season 5. So that was about the halfway point of the show.
Yeah, then it's a little more rough. Yes. But still very interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Just fun ideas I came up with years and years ago.
I don't know. Would you try to ever write something like that and make an audio drama out of it?
I don't consider myself the best writer, especially for long form stories. I can write scripts. I can write TF2 analysis episodes. And sometimes I can come up with interesting long form narratives within something like TF2 analysis. But that series goes back and forth between, hey, we're doing this just for fun, to occasionally, okay, now we want to get serious.
Let's get down to business.
Yes.
Sorry, anyway, I had to.
That's entirely okay. That's entirely okay. When I wanted to come up with Dr. Wolf's origin story, for example.
Ooh, yes, please tell.
There were a lot of ideas that I wanted, but I had no idea how to write them properly in a flowing narrative. I needed help. And thankfully, I got in touch with a writer on FimFiction by the name of Godzilla Wolf, and he was definitely interested in helping me put this together. So we had many long conversations about how Dr. Wolf's story would go, all the general ideas about points in his life. And over time, he was able to craft a wonderful story based on all of these ideas. And I am immensely grateful for him for that.
That's nice.
And I did turn it into a dramatic reading. And Yay! Later on, it even got custom artwork, little bits of animation.
Ooh.
And it is also one of my personal favorite projects I've ever had to work on.
Can I be so rude to ask if you can find that video so I can post it in the Twitch chat so people can see it?
Well, if you go to YouTube and type Memories of the Equestrian Wolf, it should pop up.
Memories of EQ? Equestrian Wolf, there you are. Seems like somebody has made a reaction video on it too.
Oh yes, a couple people did that.
Memories of the Equestrian.
There we go, and into stream. Ba-doom. on. So, um, normally, as I said earlier, I usually ask people about their OCs, background story, how they ended up with what they have, but you already have a whole video on the story itself, so might I ask, what made you choose a wolf in a series where we didn't even have cats or other thing than ponies to begin with?
Well, back in the early days of my channel, I didn't have any OC. I was just making videos talking about characters from the show and what I hope to see. But it doesn't take long for fans to start saying, hey, you should have an OC. All the other reviewers and analysis channels have their own C when they're talking about things. You should have one. And I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So initially, I was trying to think, well, what kind of pony should I make? But I quickly realized there are thousands upon thousands of fan OC characters in the community already. How could I come up with something unique? How could I have something that would stand out? And then I thought, you know what? I already have the name Dr. Wolf for my channel. I should make a wolf character.
Oh. So I guess that was that.
Mm-hmm. There was an artist way back even then who offered to draw an OC for me. And I'm like, I want a wolf. I would like a wolf character in a doctor's office, a therapist's office. And Fluttershy is lying down on the couch talking about her problems, and I'm just sitting there listening and being calm and collective and being helpful.
So that's, yeah, I've seen the art piece. Yeah. Wow, that's an old art piece then. Awesome.
Oh, yes. 2013 that was drawn up.
Oh, that's a long time ago. Holy moly. It's hard to realize unless it already has hit you. Like, it's been a decade with ponies. That's amazing.
It's been much more than that if you count Generation 1.
Of course. So then we are on a whole other level.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but gosh, yeah. That was also amazing times. But for me, it was also really fun when I've heard both the Norwegian versions and the English versions. And like how much is similar, but at the same time how much is different between all the ponies. And was it Megan, Timmy, and Molly in English? The humans? I think it was
Maybe. I'm not that familiar with the Generation 1 show.
that.
I have watched Rescue at Midnight Castle.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That was another video I made with Blissy. We did a review on that one.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched much of Generation 1 at all. I've seen little clips, and that's about it.
Okay, I can really recommend Return of Tamblon. Tamblon. Returns of Tamblon. That's where you get to see Generation 1 Grogar.
Oh, okay.
So that one of the scariest, but also one of the highest recommended, I would say. Of course, you also have the original movie with the Smooths. That Smooth was horrifying. Oh, gotta say. But I really liked the Flitter ponies. They were adorable, but still so brave and determined. That was really nice to see in such an old show that they could show those kind of features, even if it was a girly show. You know?
Yep.
It's gonna show. Well, we can take a look at the questions. What is your Dr. Rolf? What is your favorite princess? If you have one.
The one princess that I relate to the most, even though I can find relatable features with all of them. The one I relate to the most would be Twilight Sparkle. So if I had to pick a favorite, even though I really don't want to, it's probably going to be Twilight Sparkle, even though I thoroughly enjoy both Luna and Celestia as well.
Yeah.
Cadence I can enjoy on occasion, not as much as the others.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. To be honest, I don't have a favorite princess. I never managed to pick out a favorite, and I relate to everybody on different levels depending on the day. So, when people ask me if I have a favorite princess, I say Lightning Bliss. She's my favorite princess. It's true, and I think it's fun because people don't expect that answer. Ska vi se. Final Sight asks, question for the doc. In your videos you have a towel on your door. Why is it always on backwards? Towel?
Yeah. When I have my camera on and it's just me talking in front of the camera, behind me on the door there is a My Little Pony towel draped across the door.
Oh, it's a real one.
Yes. I put that towel there in order to help reduce echo in the room. There's still some echo, but there's less echo with that towel there. But I originally had the towel facing normally, where you could get to see the characters and their faces. But the more I tried to put myself in front of the camera, the more the camera chose to focus on the faces on the towel, thereby putting me out of focus. And I kept trying to making sure that I have my face in front of the camera and that the camera keeps registering, oh, this is what I'm supposed to focus on. But every now and again, it kept focusing on the characters on the towel and my face would go out of focus. And I'm like, I got to turn this around. I got to reduce this problem. Normally, I prefer to have that towel showing the characters, but it's a little troublesome when the camera doesn't want to work the way you want it to work.
Very true. I myself have also, well, it's not towels, it's like very heavy wool blankets that I have all over the walls, and right behind me I have like a giant cover, like a thick cover with a lot of wool and feathers inside of it. I've heard that there's not many countries that uses them because it's only used when it's cold. But I don't remember the proper word for it in English. Other than that, yeah, like a giant mattress on the floor, so I have as little echo as possible in my own room. So I know the struggle of getting rid of echo. Ska vi se. We had another. Oh, this is a fun one. Hey Doc, how do you feel after having Lightning Bliss, Tespio, Firebrand watch Computer Warriors?
I was looking forward to that for a long time, a very long time. I wanted to show each of them one of the very obscure cartoons that I liked to watch as a kid, because I was pretty certain that none of them would have heard of it before, and thus I'd get to actually listen to their reactions as I'm watching along with them.
Yay!
Silver Quill actually surprisingly knew about this, and I'm like, well, okay, at least these three haven't seen it yet. But yeah, ever since we started that sort of series where Lightning Bliss got us to watch the Hug-a-Bunch movie, I thought, you know what? If I get a chance, I want to show them Computer Warriors. I'll bet you that would be a blast. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So, I don't know what Computer Warrior is because I haven't seen it. Would you care to explain the basics of it?
It was a failed pilot for a show that was meant to sell toys. It really, really was trying to push the angle of selling toys.
Ah.
And they were using ideas that Transformers had already made popular. They had some original ideas, like trying to focus some of their story within the computer world, where the animation was a lot more unique. But I don't know. I can't really explain it that well.
Yeah.
You can look up the video on Josh Scorcher's channel and listen to us react.
Yeah, we do that. Ska vi se. The Quill Shower asks, would you like to see a Jackpot episode? No, wait a second. Do you want to see Jackpot and Trixie have a father-daughter episode?
Jack who?
I think Jackpot is a series, but could you care to explain a little bit better? Shower? The Quill Shower? That would have been greatly appreciated. Okay, Noah, question for both. What is your favorite Jasper Pie prank call?
The one that Jasper and Doc did together, because Doc is the one who's attempting to kind of lift Jasper's spirits by giving him a prank call, and he's just failing miserably. That was a lot of fun to write.
I haven't read many of them, but I might be biased, but I think either Blissy's or no, that one was a video. That wasn't a comic strip where basically Jasper is getting a call, and they basically RML uses him sadly to check the security on the base where she and Firebrand lives. Poor guy. But that one was really funny because, as far as I know, they also helped him with business afterwards, and that's nice. Even though it's all fictional, but still, I think that's nice. Ska vi se. Question to Doc: have you ever thought to be a fox?
A fox? I don't think so, no.
Yeah, that's the thing. You said you had the name Dr. Wolf when you started the channel without having the OC. Can I ask, what inspired Dr. Wolf to be the name?
Well, I've had a fascination with wolves for much of my life. And that stemmed from when I was a little child being terrified of wolves, which stemmed from watching a movie where a very lifelike wolf puppet just gave me nightmares. I don't know if you've ever watched The Never-Ending Story.
I have, but I was very, very tiny, so my mind has forgotten most of it except the fluffy giant dragon and the boy falling into a book and rainy days with a closed bookshop. And
well, there is a creature within that movie called the Gmork, and it's like a very large black wolf with green eyes that has a very unsettling voice. And even though when I was 5 years old, I could tell this is a puppet, it's not real, that thing still terrified me. And I loved watching the movie, but I'd always leave the room when that part came on. I'm like, I can't watch this.
No.
But I wanted to watch it. So at some point when I was a little kid, I decided I'm going to learn everything there is to learn about wolves so that I won't be afraid of them anymore. And when I learned everything I could learn about wolves, I became rather fascinated by wolves. Throughout much of my life, I've had a fascination for wolves.
So you kind of became the fear, what you feared.
Yeah. I just learned to enjoy what I originally feared, yes.
Nice. I think that's a good thing as long as it's healthy.
As far as the Dr. Wolf part, That takes a little more to explain. Back in the 90s, when I would play video games with my friends, and we'd give ourselves nicknames to use in the games.
Mm.
I think one of the earliest nicknames I came up with was Death Ray. I think I got that out of the Calvin and Hobbes comic book. I was probably 12 or 13 when I decided, you know what, I want to call myself Death Ray. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. As a 12 to 13-year-old, of course you're going to think that's cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
I grew out of that. It wasn't that great.
Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to be Dr. Death Ray Wolf?
No, that's definitely not for me.
Oh, I'm sorry, but it's just like Dr. Wolf, Death Ray.
Right.
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, that's amazing. So yeah, so when was the tipping point from Death Ray to Dr. Wolf?
I grew out of the Death Ray phase sometime in my teenager years, but I still needed to have a nickname when I was playing video games with my friends. So I just shortened Death Ray to DR. And I had that fascination with wolves throughout much of my life. And I just put, you know what? I'm going to call myself DR Wolf. And the first time somebody looked at it, I'm like, what is that, Dr. Wolf? And I'm like, no, it's not Dr. Wolf. It's DR Wolf. And other people said, so why do you call yourself Dr. Wolf? And I'm like, it's not Dr. Wolf. It's DR Wolf. And then finally, years later, I relented and said, okay, fine, sure, Dr. Wolf, whatever.
Okay, that's adorable.
And that carried over into my 20s when I first created a YouTube account. And many years after that, still had the name DR Wolf 001. Somebody else had come up with DR Wolf before me, so I had to add a 001 at the end of it.
Ah, betrayal.
Uh-huh. But when I finally created my first video, and a few weeks later when people were saying, hey, you really need to have an OC, and I thought, I can't make a pony OC that'll stand out. I can't think of anything that creative. I went back to the name, Dr. Wolf, and I'm like, I could make a little wolf character, and since this is a pony community, of course he'll stand out. That's how I can be unique. I'm not all that creative, but if I'm just a wolf instead of a pony, yeah, that can work.
Sorry, it's just in my head, I continue to hear Death Ray Wolf.
Death Ray, of course.
Oh,
Death
yeah.
Ray.
Well, now
because
we know.
Because originally that was what it was, Death Ray.
Yeah, it's amazing. And now we all know if Dr. Wolf turns evil, we know his name.
More than a few people have said that Dr. Wolf would make a fantastic villain if he turned to the dark side. And oh my goodness, people have had so much fun trying to point that out. There was a video that Silverquill did years ago, one of his episode reviews of the show, where for like 5 or 6 seconds on screen, he puts Dr. Wolf holding this little Fluttershy.
Hail Wolf. All hail
Wolf. Yeah, all hail Wolf. That's the all hail Wolf.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. Oh. Yeah, I was quite surprised. I was just like, "What? This is not Dr. Wolf. This is not the calm, nice Wolfie. This is bad Wolf." Wolf. Oh, yeah. Huh. Amazing. I don't know. It's amazing to learn all this interesting backstory stuff. Thank you so much.
Glad I could be of service.
Ska vi se. Noah asks, "Hey Doc, have you considered doing a MST3K review on Coraline?"
I do remember watching Coraline years ago, and yeah, there's quite a lot to enjoy from that movie. It's a very unique presentation. And yeah, I can definitely understand why a lot of people grew to love it. It's got a very creepy edge to it. But I don't know if I can ever do an MST3K style review of it. No.
Okay. Also, I got an answer to what Quill meant with jackpot. Apparently, that's the name of Trixie, Trixie's father. I'm gonna send you the image of him, just in case.
Okay. It's from the episode where Rainbow Dash takes all of the Golden Girl stand-ins to Las Pegasus.
Yes.
I remember that, yeah.
Send a picture of him. So Daddy asked, would you like to see an episode where Trixie gets to meet her father? Because as far as I know, they did have a post on it on Equestria Daily where he was confirmed to be her father.
I'm sure there's plenty of story potential if you have Trixie suddenly meeting her father, who admittedly maybe she's never met before. It could be that this was just a father who didn't ever realize that he had a daughter. Could be one of those situations.
Quite possible. But it's also funny that he is also very big into stage magic. Like Trixie.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe he was, even if she didn't know he was the father, maybe he was the inspiration for it.
Could be.
Which could be interesting. Let's see. Final Sight asked, Doc, have you ever seen your Prance card counting skills for ill?
Ever used my card counting for ill purposes?
Yes. Have you ever taken off the death ray?
No. I am not a quick reflexes kind of player for Prance. I just can't match the speed of Lightning Bliss or Josh Scorcher or several others that I've ever played with. So the only other way that I can get ahead is trying to remember, okay, this person has Luna, and the card right before the Luna card is the Dr. Hooves card. If I can look for when Dr. Hooves shows up, I'll realize, okay, Luna's coming next. Can I exploit it? Is there any other card before or after that I can use to get a Hayburger or a match? That's what I use for card counting. That's what I do for Prance. I'm not the best at it. There's still many ways I could improve upon that skill, but I'm apparently good enough that the other players complain about it sometimes.
Yay! Yeah. I did get myself a deck of Prance right as the Corona Pona went live, as they say. So I never gotten to use it yet. I'm sad. So hopefully I will be able to play with someone in the future.
It's a very fun game. And you really do need to play with people that you know for a long time, because it can be hilarious watching people's reactions when they're just not quick enough to get the cards.
Yeah, I think I've seen all the Prance videos that you and your friends have put out, because I was just so like, I want to play. Because it looked a lot of fun. And I actually recently got myself a Prance card, since I started doing these chill chats and small other stuff here on Twitch with my pony. So I have a Twitch pony Prance card.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I don't know. Do I have a picture on it on my computer? I had one made earlier before I got my cutie mark, but I was lucky with the help of Bliss to actually get myself a cutie mark. But that's a story for another time. So I now have a proper Prance card. Sorry, what were you gonna say? Sorry, I cut you off.
I just said I can imagine when you were talking just now.
Ska vi se. Is that... No, that's just a pony. Well, there she is with a bunch of other cards. I can at least show you that one. Ska vi se. Skrivebord. Save. And doctor. And where did you come from? Where did you go? Where do you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? There you are.
I haven't heard that song in years.
Yeah, it's an oldie and a goodie. So there you can see the little Twitch symbol with a small hoof underneath. So for now, I've offered. I bought a couple of them. Well, more than a couple, but a small potion of them so that I can send to friends in America, and some to keep for myself because it's kind of fancy. You were one of the brownie YouTubers that was in that special pack that you still can buy at his Skyrunners, yes, Skyrunners store.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite flattered to hear that somebody wanted to make a card of my character, put it into a game. And yeah, it's an exceptionally fun game.
Oh boy. I mentioned earlier our final site in the chat. He has tradition of making a unrunning joke with my character, since she recently just got her cutie mark, as a friendly joke, of course. That she, every time we find some kind of sponsor for her, since I don't have a sponsor and they joke about that a lot, he often takes something from the stream and adds that over her cutie mark as a sponsor. And I'm going to show you it afterwards, but I'm also going to put it up on screen. Ska vi se. So, are you happy now, final site? We had so many weird stories where, like, the very first one was with Walmart, and how the person that owns Walmart, I don't know his name, he's a bald guy, apparently is so rich that if you bite off his finger, he's not going to be angry, he's just going to go and buy himself a new finger. No, Amazon. Okay, my bad.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically he just exchanges the product's logo for my cutie mark, and that's the joke. It's a lot funnier if you would have been able to rewatch. Well, you would be able to rewatch it. I could send you the episode, but yeah. So that's the unrunning joke. It's weird, but yeah. Asura Lockhart.
Whatever works.
Yeah. Asura Lockhart asks, how are Chris and Dr. Wolf doing? Dale? For me, it's soon 4 a.m. So I'm feeling fine, a little sleepy, but fine. How about you, Doc?
Well, I probably do need to get dinner at some point, and I'm hoping that I'm not keeping you up too late. Goodness, that's incredibly late.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of my insomnia weeks, so I would probably have been up until now anyway. Sadly. So it's good to use the time for something productive instead of just laying in bed, just like, can I get sleep now, please? Onegaishimasu. If you ever have had insomnia yourself, you might know the feeling.
Well, there are several things you can do to help wind your mind down, because The most common issue for insomnia these days is caused by staring at screens right before you go to bed or even in bed.
Yeah, I usually have my cell phone by the door where it's playing or not playing relaxing help sleep aid music because I need something in the background to keep my ADHD brain to calm down. The few times it works. So it's not the screen thing at least. But yeah, there is a lot of people having trouble with that. Isn't that because of the blue light?
Partially, I'm sure that constantly looking at images and videos and reading through texts and just constantly scrolling, it's keeping your brain active. It's constantly looking, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? To wind your brain down, it's important that you separate yourself from the constant stimulation of looking at a phone or a computer screen. You need to take some time before you go to bed, and you are going to have to put the phone down a while before bed, and that can be troubling, but if you can put it down and do something calming, it will help you to fall asleep at night. This is what I've learned from personal experience.
Okay. So, some things that can be of help is meditation, maybe taking a long shower, a long bath. Can be just doing some work in the garden, or well, reading a book would count as stimulants, wouldn't it?
Not nearly as much, because when you're looking at something on a phone, you're constantly moving your fingers, scrolling through pages, going to videos and typing back and forth with friends, that kind of thing. When you're looking at a book, the words stay perfectly still, and you don't need to shift page after page every 3 seconds. You're just staring at a page for a minute or 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that does help your body to wind down and your brain to wind down. It is different than reading on a screen, because so often when you're on a screen, it's constantly, what's the next thing? Let's look at the next page. Let's scroll past this. Let's take a closer look at this. Let's listen to this video. Let's play this. Let's comment on this. Let's text our friends, that kind of thing. It's just constant go, go, go.
Yeah, apropos books and stuff, do you have any hobbies outside ponies, work, and, well, of course, your wife? Well, she doesn't count as a hobby, neither does work, but yeah. Sorry, weird question.
We do go on walks together.
Ah.
That's at least a few times a week, and that's oftentimes at night. We're just taking in the silence of going around the neighborhood. There's very little going on most of the time. There's only a few street lights here and there. It's a little cold, but a walk can do much to clear one's head.
That is true. And it's a little bit romantic. Oh, a lot romantic depending on the where you go. At least, I guess you guys aren't living anything near any swamps or anything, so you don't have to watch out for frogs on the ground.
Nope.
That's good. That's good. I have to do that around here, especially in the spring. Because if you step wrong, then oof, poor little froggy. They are quite quick with their jumps, but sometimes they're quick at the wrong spot. That's sad. We have a lot of joggers and bikers around some parts of our lakes, so that's very sad to see. Hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. If money and time was not an issue, and work, of course, would you and your wife have a dream vacation or living space?
There are certain things that my lady very much would like to have in a future home, and we are slowly working towards that goal. I'm trying to imagine how we would fill all of our time if money wasn't an issue anymore.
Yeah, also
Because
sorry, I meant for acquiring the house or the farm or something like that, but you still have the normal work afterwards.
we still have normal work after that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you would be able to pay the bills that was needed to have this sort of place. It's just like if you could afford it. So that's what I mean with the the money and job wouldn't be a problem thing.
Well, for me, I worry less about where I am than who I'm with. So if I could be in a home where family and friends aren't too far away, where at a whim we could say, let's play some card games with this person, or let's go out to dinner with these people. That's what I would look forward to most. It's about where I am or what I'm living in, it's just who I'm with.
That's nice. So for a vacation, I guess that would be the Europe tour.
We do want to visit Europe someday, but we got to plan for a lot of time to spend in Europe. If we're going to travel that far, we're going to need weeks. And we're not going to be able to see everything we want even within weeks.
Well, say if you could have a whole half a year where you could travel the world.
Well, and I'm sure we could spend quite a bit of time hopping from country to country throughout Europe. I'm sure that there are places as far away as Australia and New Zealand that I'm sure we'd like to visit. My lady very much wants to go see one of the incredibly colorful coral reefs that are
Ooh.
off the coast of Australia and see the many varieties of tropical fish up close for herself. That's on her bucket list.
Yeah. So, okay, we have one of those in chat. Just had to take care of someone. Well, you mentioned we talked about Lord of the Rings earlier. Are you elf, dwarven, hobbit, or human fan? Like, do you have a favorite amongst in the Lord of the Rings and Hobbiton series?
I think my favorite character of that series would definitely be Samwise.
Yeah, Sammy boy. Yeah, he's nice. So, out of the Hobbiton, if you, I guess you have seen them.
Seen what in Hobbiton?
The Hobbiton movies. They're
Oh, you mean the Hobbit movies? Okay. Okay. I saw the first film. I saw the second film. I completely skipped the third film. I just like, yeah, I'm not interested in watching this. I had little bits of interest here and there in the second film. I enjoyed more of the first film, but it wasn't quite to the same level as Lord of the Rings. So I don't know if I could give a favorite character there. There are certainly
Okay.
a few really good moments that I can think of, but I don't know if I could call a favorite character.
Well, Gandalf is in there. He's
Yeah.
pretty good. He's pretty good. Ugh, that reminds me, holy moly. I did mention earlier that I went to New Zealand, and back home, I managed to take with me one of the 500 first replicas of Gandalf the Grey's staff.
Oh, really?
And I was backpacking. So out of my tiny little backpack was about a 2 meter long staff.
Hmm.
So that was quite a sight for people on the bus. But the thing was,
I, oh, yeah.
the thing is, this staff was not for me. It was a wedding gift to a friend. So her eyes and face was about to pop out of her head when she saw the wedding presents. That was quite amazing. You and your wife, of course, are married. Do you have any memorable wedding gifts?
What would be the most memorable wedding gift we received all those years ago? Trying to think. I don't know if I remember the gifts all that much. It's more the wedding itself, the reception, all the people we were with that I remember. I guess I just don't put too much emphasis on gifts.
No, that's
But
fair. That's fair.
I will always deeply appreciate how so much of my family and our friends and our church ward came together to give us everything we could have wanted for a reception.
Mm, that's nice.
So I consider that to be the greatest gift.
Yeah, that's truly the greatest one. Maybe not the funniest, but truly the best. Yeah. Ska vi se. I had at least one more question on my notebook. Where did you go? We kind of went off my list since we started talking about everything else. Have you anything you're curious about that you would like to talk about? I haven't asked you that. Is there anything you would like to talk about?
Well, one thing that Blissy did mention is that you used to be a therapist yourself. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And what was that like for you?
It was both very giving in a way, but for me, being an empath and being a very sensitive person, after having well, let's say 7 clients a day, hearing about their troubles, giving them guidance or advice or telling them and listening to them, after doing that for about a year or something, it started to drain so heavily on my mental state that I wasn't able to put a break on the caring for the person. So it drove me into almost depression. So I found out that's not something I can do full time, sadly, anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that, but that is certainly understandable.
But it's worked I really, really liked because I was able to help people with something that they needed, and they were willing to listen to what I had to say because, well, one, they paid for it, and two, it was something where they were open to seek help. like you see in many vent channels in Discord servers, a lot of people talk about troubles they have and trouble they do, but I would say about 90% of times, if you try to actually give them constructive feedback or actual help to how to go through with this or to help with getting out of that sort of trouble, they very often maybe say thank you, but they very often ignore it and go and do the total opposite or something else. Or they complete out ignore you or tell you to close your mouth because you have nothing to do with this, even though you're an event channel where it says specifically that you can expect feedback from people that want to help you. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not in many event channels. But if anybody wants to be a therapist, a psychologist, a shrink, a counselor, it's something as long as you're able to put the caring on a break, it's something I can wholeheartedly recommend. It's giving you a lot, and it lets you help people that needs it. And we need more of that nowadays, especially nowadays, because of everything that's happening.
Wise words indeed.
Thank
Well, is there anything we need to do before we wind down for the evening?
You see, it's like we have one last question, and then we can say our goodbyes. Final sight. Doc, you had Crown Prince cameo as an Overwatch character in TF2 analysis. Have you given any thoughts to having a mini-series offshot with other Overwatch characters?
It has been brought up, even within our TF2 group. It's been brought up as a suggestion multiple times. But that would mean we'd have to draw all new assets for specific characters and dozens upon dozens of poses for each of those characters. And I'm trying to ease the workload of the visual artists and editors on the series.
Oh, poor Bliss. And all the others, of course. Yeah. So it's something you've been thinking about, but not likely to happen.
Not likely to happen, because the work that would need to be put into that, just for some jokes here and there, maybe in a few episodes at best, it's just not worth it. It's too much of an opportunity cost. There are so many other ways we could be spending our time.
So currently you are in the middle of making a new project, as far as I understood you, but it's nothing to do with Overwatch or TF2. So
we still are working towards making more TF2 analysis videos.
Ooh, okay.
We are intending to continue the series.
Yay. That's good to hear. Looking forward. And I think a lot of other people do as well. So I see.
Glad to hear it.
Any other questions?
I think I'm okay. I hope that you've had an enjoyable chat for the past couple of hours.
I have, and I hope you have had as well.
Very much so. It's been interesting to revisit some of these old stories of mine.
Yeah, and you have my Discord, so if you ever want to join me for another one with maybe hopefully other people as well, you know where to reach me, or I hopefully think it's okay that I reach you on Discord.
Well, thank you kindly for that.
Super. We are about 30 seconds away from the 2-hour mark. I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Wolf. It's been a blast and an honor to have you here. Thank you so much.
I'm glad I could be of service, and yeah, this was better than expected.
Yay.
And I do hope you have a better sleep and better able to deal with that insomnia of yours.
Thank you very much. Well,
You take care.
that I hope you do too. You can say your goodbyes to the people if you want to.
Well, thank you everybody for taking part. And yeah, there were some intriguing questions that really got me to think. So thank you for that. And I hope everybody has a lovely evening.
Thank you everybody so much for dropping by. I hope everybody is doing what they can. Wash your hands, wear masks, and get the vaccine if you can. Stay brownie, stay safe, and stay kind. Bye!